I always love doing these interviews where we interview current high school athletes to share their story because I feel like a lot of people can benefit from these interviews. A lot of athletes that are either in high school or aspiring high school athletes, whether you're trying to get onto varsity, if you're fighting for a freshman or a JV spot, whatever it is, you can learn a lot from the people that are in the mix of it right now. And that's exactly who we have coming on today. Gabe Tanner, a local athlete here in the Treasure Valley who is going to be sharing some of his insight. Now, we'll kind of touch base on his, history as an athlete when he first started playing baseball, as he comes from a baseball family, and then when he started playing football. But we also talk about his Muay Thai and Jiu-Jitsu and how that plays a role in the way that he competes. And we'll be talking about some of his favorite memories. We'll talk about him as a leader, which is another important topic that I think a lot of athletes need to tune in on, is just how are you a leader? I don't care about your skill set. I want to know about you as a leader. And so we'll talk to Gabe about what he's doing to develop his leadership skills so that he can use that at the next level. So it's a super, super awesome interview. Really excited to bring him on. I would encourage all of you to follow me on my social media channels if you want to follow more sports content there. But also make sure to hit that subscribe button wherever you're listening to this on. If this is Apple Podcast, if it's Spotify, if it's on YouTube, hit me with that follow. It really helps support the show. I'm trying to build out the YouTube platform, but it really does help anytime you hit the subscribe button. And if you could, take 10 to 30 seconds out of your day, hit me with a review. If you're on Apple Podcasts, every review helps the show get to more and more people. So appreciate you guys. Make sure to tune into this one. Take notes because this is the Gametime Guru. So,
what time is it? Game time!
This is the Gametime Guru podcast, where I interview sports figures from all over the world to help deliver a panoramic view on sports. So whether you're a former athlete, one of the crazies, or simply a casual sports fan, this is the perfect show for you as we peel back the curtains and learn from our guests every single week. I'm your host, Shane Larson, and I'm helping you see sports through a different lens. What's up, everybody? Welcome out to another episode of the Gametime Guru podcast. My name is Shane Larson, host of the show. Welcome aboard. If this is your first time listening to the podcast, I am stoked to have you here with us. Over the last, almost 8 years now, I've been doing this show since 2017, January 17. We have had the show downloaded in 182 countries. That's on the audio side. It's been downloaded in all 50 states. So somebody across the United States in every state has listened to this podcast at least one time, and in 182 countries. We're growing the YouTube side of things. So if you guys are listening to this or watching it on YouTube, please give me a follow. That's where I'm trying to see the most growth in my podcast, because the audio side we've already gotten taken care of. I would love for you to subscribe there if you haven't. But if you are on the YouTube side of things, hit us with that follow button and share this with a friend or family member, somebody who could benefit from this podcast, because I would love to grow that platform, because it's my smallest platform and I'm trying to build it out. So would love a follow over on YouTube. At the time of this recording, I think I'm at like 530 subscribers, and we're looking to build that. I'm trying to get that more and more and more. So please help me out there. So if you guys listen to this introduction, this is a special interview for me. This young man is a dual sport athlete here at a local high school where I reside, which is in Idaho. And so we're going to get to learn about him, his sports experience, everything that he's going through as a current high school athlete. So this will kind of touch, points with current athletes or aspiring athletes, and even parents, I think, will benefit highly from this podcast. But joining the show today, dual sport athlete out of Columbia High School here in Nampa, Idaho, is Gabe Tanner. Gabe, thanks for joining the show, man.
Yep, thanks for having me, Shane. I appreciate it. I'm excited to be here, and I'm looking forward to this. So,
heck yeah, man. Heck yeah. So, funny little fun fact here. I don't even know if you knew this, but I actually was at one of your talks randomly. I think Dan Bell, a kid that I had coached in basketball for club basketball, was going on a mission. I want to say you were speaking the same week he went, if I'm not mistaken. Is that correct?
Yeah, he asked me to speak, and I didn't know until the night before. So kind of a last minute thing. Yep.
No, but it was good. I mean, you got to speak, and there's quite a few people there. I just happened to be one of them. It's not my ward, but I was there for your talk at our church that we frequent here, and I got to see how you are with public speaking, which is awesome. You hold yourself up high, and I think it's dope. You have a good head on your shoulders, and you're good at public speaking. So that's why I know you're going to be a great guest on the show, man. Let's rewind the clock a little bit, Gabe. I know I've learned a little bit about you. I know who you are. I know a little bit about your history, but I kind of want to rewind the clock and talk about your experience with athletics growing up. So, talk to me about when you got into sports. At what age did you really realize that like sports were an important part of your life?
Yeah, so I was born into a big baseball family. My grandpa played professional, my dad played college, so I was kind of born into the baseball industry. So when I was about, I think, 4 years old, I had just been begging before my parents let me play baseball, so they finally let me join the little league team, and I loved it. And I always wanted to be a football player too, but my mom just was so scared of the injuries, which it's something I see happen a lot with parents, and I totally understand and wanting to keep your child safe. So I played baseball. I still play it today, and so I went from little league to travel baseball at a more competitive level when I turned 8, and I kept going up from there. I had some issues in the little league. They would only let me play up against older kids. There was complaints about the way I played, not in like a negative way, but it was like I got kicked out of the AA league for throwing too hard, and they just had me play up. And so I've always learned to be a competitive athlete, and prove that I'm the best on the field, no matter how young I am or small or big. Just trying to be the most competitive and aggressive athlete I could be.
Oh, that's awesome, man. So starting at a young age, you got to get to the competitive side, like a real young age in the baseball world, and having to play up a little bit, and getting to see what it's like playing against the older kids, bigger kids, not necessarily bigger, but older.
Yeah.
So talk to me about this. At what age did you actually start playing football? You mentioned that your mom kind of wanted to hold off on that one for a while, but when did you actually
Yeah.
get on the football field too?
So to backtrack a little bit, I actually initially did Muay Thai and Jiu-Jitsu, just mixed martial arts kind of guy. And I eventually used that against my mom to convince her to let me play football. I was like, listen, I could break my arm, doing Jiu-Jitsu and all this and that. And so she eventually let me play when I was 10. And I played for our local little league team. And I just loved it ever since I started. So it was a big change in my life.
No, that's super cool. And let's go over to the martial arts side of things too. I'm a jiu-jitsu guy and a boxing guy myself. I started competing in boxing when I was in high school all the way through college, but I was a jiu-jitsu guy prior to that, and I also did Kempo karate when I was younger. So I'm a huge believer in martial arts, and I just want to unbox that piece of it because I didn't actually know that about you. I would love to actually hear that side of it too. What do you think was one of the biggest lessons you learned from martial arts, from Muay Thai and jiu-jitsu? What was something that you could take from there that you could bring into either the football field or the diamond?
I think just being a calm athlete. Like I used to be a very aggressive kid. I was fighting all the time at school, and it wasn't a good time in my life. And the way I got out of that was doing martial arts and football. It helped me take all the anger I had from my outside life and put it into a sport that I could do it legally. And so I tried to be a calm athlete. That's something I learned that was important until like even to what I am today. And maintaining a calm look on the outside, because it's almost like a poker face. How you can be all excited or you can be nervous, you can be scared, on the inside, but on the outside, if you're just calm and collected, it just brings a whole nother representation of yourself to everybody else around you. So I think that's probably the biggest thing I learned.
Oh, I love to hear that, man. I would actually agree with that. I would say, like, in the boxing world, like one thing I noticed, Gabe, and I wonder if this is similar to you, is it taught me to be humble too. Cause like I would stay calm. Cause if you start to panic, that's not good. Your opponent will just
Yeah.
tee off and you start to like make mistakes. But two, it humbled me. It showed me like, yeah, I gained confidence because I realized like I can beat these guys. I can hang with these guys and I'm throwing hands, but I can also get hit, and it humbled me a little bit too. So it kind of showed me you got to respect the sport that you're competing in. Did you feel like that was kind of how Muay Thai and Jiu Jitsu worked for you as well?
Yeah, I definitely didn't come in as, the best martial artist at all. It wasn't like they would separate us by the belt we were, the rank we were. there was black belts against white belts against green belts. So it was just a big mix and kind of helped you, like you said, humble yourself and learn humility. So
Yeah, for sure, man. I was just curious how it worked for you. So, Gabe, let's talk about the sport of baseball. That was your first love, right? Coming into it,
yeah,
dad plays baseball, grandpa plays baseball at a high level for that matter, not just like, hey, they were high school athletes. No, they were high level athletes. As you got older with the sport of baseball and you start taking it a little more seriously and you're starting to get out there and, middle school, high school now, like you're doing the thing and you're looking towards the next thing. What, did you take from your dad or your grandpa, like the lessons that they had, like knowing what it takes to compete at the next level? What were you able to take that I guess transformed you as an athlete, like whether that be your work ethic or your mentality or whatever it is? What's something that you took from them that has helped you in your preparation and the way that you compete?
yeah. The Definitely the biggest thing I've noticed is doing stuff where nobody can see what you're doing. I used to stay up in my room till 1:30 in the morning, maybe, just lifting and getting my cardio in and doing things I knew kids my age weren't doing, because that's really what's going to separate athletes is what happens when nobody's watching. Not even on like just a work ethic standpoint, like the kind of person you are, integrity and being the best you can be when nobody's around you. I notice a lot of kids, especially my age, when everybody's around, they want to seem to work so hard, but I know the kind of people they are outside of that, and they don't want it. So you just got to be the person who wants it the most, and it'll definitely separate you from everybody else. And coaches see that, other athletes see that, and so it's definitely going to be recognizable. But you need to be able to work where you're not, doing it just for the clout or for recognition from everybody else. You got to want it for yourself. So that's probably the biggest thing for me.
I think that's a really important lesson. Honestly, as I've interviewed people for the last almost 8 years now, whether they be professional athletes, collegiate athletes, former professional or collegiate athletes, or current athletes like yourself or coaches, whatever, that is something that the elite level athletes have that the great athletes don't. There's good, there's great, and there's elite. And the difference between great and elite typically isn't that much, but it's the separator that gets them to the next level. And it's the small things like that, the consistent work when nobody's watching. And the funny thing that you say about it, like as a coach now, Gabe, I coach basketball at the club level. So I got the 17-year-olds, the seniors in high school that are traveling, trying to get, recruits, like trying to get, in front of them, getting their recruiting going and trying to get offers. And one of the things that I'll notice is the people like yourself, the athletes at a young age like yourself that are doing those things when no one's watching are the ones that in the games when it starts to matter, like when the game's close and the anxiety kicks in and the nerves kick in, you can see the athletes that have been preparing when no one's watching and the ones who are just really talented and skilled because they start to break. The ones who haven't been preparing, they break in those moments. And I've seen it over and over again. I've had athletes that do it too, like on our teams, and it's sad to watch where you're like, yeah, you broke when the spotlight was on. Whereas the ones who are doing the work, consistently putting that in, they're the ones who can put it up, even find another notch that they didn't believe they had, kick it into gear that they didn't even realize they had another gear in them. So it's cool to hear that you're doing that. Now, I want to talk about like your athletic side now in high school. So we've got a lot of high school athletes that are watching the show and they'll tune in and or they're middle school athletes looking to, compete at a high level. So they get into high school, they want to play varsity at some point. They want to be they have goals. I want to know what it's like on a day-to-day basis for you, whether it's baseball season or football season, whatever. What's a day in the life like for Gabe Tanner when it comes to, I guess, academics? What's your routine like? Academics, working out, practice. Let's talk about it during season and in the off season.
Yeah, so I would say right now during my football season, I wake up in the morning, get some good food in me, and I head to school. Straight after school, we go straight to football practice. So our sixth period is a football lifting period. So we go straight from that lifting period straight to practice. After practice, sometimes we have, team bonding stuff. Me and the rest of the captains will go referee at the little league flag football games, which is pretty fun. It's fun to see the kids compete. And then after that, for me personally, I'll go meal prep at my house, kind of getting ready for the next day, and I'll go to the gym at night. I like going at night just because nobody's there. I'm not big on a lot of people at the gym. I know some people can be because that's when everybody's watching, but I love to see an empty gym because then I know it's just me and the weights. So I'll go at night to go to the gym, come home, say prayers before I go to bed, and then wake up the next morning and do it. And then my off season, uh, I lift a lot in off season and I condition a lot just because I know if I'm going to be the best athlete out on the field and I'm going to separate myself, the biggest thing I've noticed is people just get tired too quick. And when your body's tired, your mind starts to break down and you can't focus. There's obviously lack of energy. So if I'm the most conditioned on the field and nobody can keep up with me, I just know I'm excelling, past the point of everybody else. So I condition a lot in the off season. I lift a lot. I try to bulk up because I know when football comes, I'm gonna shrink down a little bit from all the running. But yeah, I definitely have dedicated a lot of my life to being an athlete because it's something I've always dreamed of. I've always thought about what my senior night was gonna be like when I grow up, and it's a few weeks away. My senior year is closing in, so I just think of all the work I've put in my life. And I don't want to be wasted potential, all the work that I've put in. I see a lot of people throw away everything they've been gifted and given and worked so hard for just for just for like world likings, like stuff that can only happen in the world. And I try to, live every day like think of your life as if it's ice cream. How long would you wait to enjoy it before it melts? Like, would you wait 10, 20 years to enjoy it, or are you going to immediately go into it and start enjoying life? So I try to make the most of every rep I get, every play I get until, one day I'm 85 years old and I can't even walk without a wheelchair. So I just try to make the most of everything I got.
See, I love that. You mentioned something that I want to rewind and just um, talk about real quick. For those who are listening, I'd encourage you to pause that and rewind back to what he said about not getting tired. So, like, if you condition yourself, I think Gino Auriemma was the one who said it. He's the women's basketball coach for UConn, which is a highly respected women's basketball program, has been for decades now. And Gino Auriemma said the difference between great players and good players is the great players don't get tired. Like the great player, they don't get tired. And I would say the same thing for elite versus great. The elite players definitely don't get tired. They're the ones who can kick it up a notch, like we were saying. And part of that's just having the conditioning, whatever sport you're competing in. I literally can tell you, I've seen it in players' eyes when they get tired. Some of the best athletes, most talented and skilled athletes, when the time comes and they're not well conditioned, they're not putting the work in the offseason, the little things that we were talking about earlier. That's what I was talking about. They start to break because they're exhausted, and they start to get worried because they're exhausted and the other team is not. And I've seen less talented players in multiple sports they beat these guys that are more talented just simply because they have a motor and the other guys are gassing out. It just happens. And so I think that's really cool that you're doing that. I think it's really cool to hear the routine and the discipline that you just stay onto your stuff on track. So Gabe, if we look at football and baseball, let's talk about the sport of baseball since it is your first love. Let's talk about some of your best memories, like a time when you succeeded. Let's talk about your favorite time when you succeeded, but I also want to learn about a time when you failed and how you overcame that.
Yeah, so I definitely remember probably my biggest succeeding moment. We were in this was back when I lived in Chicago, and we were at a big tournament in Peoria, Illinois. And if anybody knows where that's at, it's in the middle of nowhere. The only thing there is this big baseball complex. So we were over at the baseball complex. Our team had worked their hardest, to get to the championship game, and we're playing this super good team from Southern Illinois, and we're tied in the last inning, and I get put in the pitch, and that's coming back to what you said, one of those peer pressure, moments, and you got a lot of weight on you. Everybody from the tournament is behind home plate, watching the game, and I'm a 9-year-old kid pitching on the mound, and I just remember shutting out the team on that inning, and we had won the tournament, and I never felt so above in my life, and I remember all the work I've put in, all the private training, all the stuff I did even as a little kid. So that was probably my biggest moment for me, and being able to enjoy that with my teammates. And the biggest failure for me was the year before I moved to Idaho. Our youth football team, it was like a 12U team, so we were middle schoolers, and we had a great season. We were undefeated. We got to championship game. It's like state for high school, so it was huge for us. We were playing at NIU field, and so it was just a big moment for all of us. And I could just see how comfortable everybody on my team was, and that's not a good place to be in as an athlete. You don't want to be comfortable. I really like feeling stress on me and all that kind of stuff. But if you're comfortable, that's when you get lazy and you don't think you have to work as hard. So it was this lower team that we should have destroyed. They had lost half their games, and we came in thinking we were going to kill them, and they smoked us, I think, like 38-7. So it was a big learning moment for me. I wouldn't say it was necessarily like a downfall of my career, my teammates. I take it as a learning moment, because it's either you're winning or you're learning. If you're losing a game, there's something that's to be learned from that game. Because if you lose the game and you're like, oh well, I did my job, everybody else failed, that's why we lost, then that you need to change your mindset as an athlete. You need to learn what you need to do better personally, because it could have even been, oh well, I could have encouraged my teammates more. I could have motivated them to be better this week of practice in order to win this game. So there's always something you can do to get better. And I think that was probably the biggest learning moment I had in my career.
Those are tough moments, man. When you experience the loss, I mean, the victory you talked about from playing baseball at the tournament in Peoria or whatever, that's huge. That's a high, especially as a young kid. The lows hit low too, though. The lows are really hard
For
when you're
sure.
younger. And so I want to know, like, coming into, like, you moved over to Idaho, it sounds like, shortly after that, and you were getting back over here. What were you able to do, Gabe, in your preparation and just your mentality to try to get back on track and get back to work? Because yeah, you lost, but you still have time to continue to play. You have years left in you. So what was something that you were able to do when you came out here and got ready to play again?
I think about this a lot, and before I go to bed, the night after a big loss, or something went wrong, I take in every negative emotion that I have, and I really feel it out, and I make sure to keep a memory of it and how I feel in the moment. And before the next game, I come back to it, and I remember how it made me feel, how I felt to not do my job, and how I felt to lose a game. And for me personally, that's just motivated me to work so much harder. And coming out to Idaho, I didn't know anybody. I only knew my family, and so I just felt like a foreigner in a new island. Like I had taken my ship and come to a remote island where everybody's so close, and I couldn't go back. I had to make a new statement for myself. Nobody knows what I've done in the past, whether it's positive or negative. So this is a big chance for me to, create a new legacy for me personally. So I just thought of every negative moment and use it as fuel, almost, you could say, to be the best athlete I could be.
I love that. It's easier said than done to like let it all soak in and feel it, but I think it's super impactful. I think that's a good thing to do. I would encourage other athletes to remember that because you're going to lose. Not everybody goes undefeated their whole lives. So you're going to experience loss. Sometimes it's in a regular season game, sometimes it's in a playoff or a championship. It sucks. But it's how you respond from it that really, really matters. And it sounds cliche, but you got to figure out a way to respond. And I think it's a great way to do it. Now, that kind of trickles into my next point. I want to learn about, you know, just outside of just the skill set of football and baseball, I want to look at your leadership. Now, I told you, before the interview, we were talking about, some of the preparation you do from a leadership perspective. As a coach, myself, obviously it's for a different sport, but everybody's good. I know I talk to athletes all the time. I'm highly involved in the college athletics scene across the board for all multiple sports. I know athletes across the board, even at junior college, are just better than everybody in high school. That's just how it is. They're all super talented across the board. The best players in high school here are mediocre at junior college levels. That's just how it is. So even at the junior college level, you're going to get over there and they're just amazing, right? It's just what it is. It's a level up. But what a lot of the coaches are looking for, and myself included, is not just the skill set. We know you can play. If we're recruiting you, we know you can play the game, whatever you're doing. We want to know how you are as a leader. We want to know how you are as a teammate. So I want to ask you about that. I want to know Gabe Tanner as the leader and as the teammate. So what are some of the things you're doing to prepare yourself to be a better leader?
The biggest thing for, excuse me, the biggest thing, hold on.
You're good. You're good.
So, okay. The biggest thing for me is being an example to everybody around me. Whether, it's my teammates or just people around the school. Everybody's always watching, whether you think it or not. So for me, I noticed with a lot of athletes, they're great on the field. They're just naturally gifted. But when it comes to school or, their family or the way they treat people, it's all negatives. And I've noticed a lot of coaches, obviously don't like that. They want great athletes, but they also want good people. So I try to stay on top of my academics, to be an example to my teammates around me. I get on my teammates if they're slacking in school. Like today, I was giving out papers for this thing we do in the morning where we learn how to be leaders, and it was like an invitation to bring everybody in. And I noticed some of our football guys were sleeping in class, and I made sure to call them out on it. But just because I want them to understand that this culture we're trying to build is going to be it's going to be next level, and we're going to have to be above everybody else. We can't be slacking in school. School's always going to come first, then sports. Because if you're not eligible in school, you can't play on Friday nights. And so staying on top of academics. And I've noticed that a lot between me and the captains. We all have great GPAs and make sure to stay on top of our school. And I also think what you do, as a person. So I invite a lot of the guys to come out places with me. I've got a bunch of them to start volunteering in our special education program at our school, which that's a big thing for me. Even when I wasn't such a sensitive kid, a big sensitive thing I had in me was, the special education system and understanding, those kids and the way that they act and, trying to be an outlet for them. And so I've seen that grow in in my teammates, it's a heartwarming thing. So I'm just super proud of where we've come and the leadership that has grown in the last 2 years. Because I remember when I was a freshman or a sophomore, there was no leadership. I mean, we had fights in the games from the kids that were supposed to be leaders. People always talking trash, even to our own teammates. So seeing the way that our community has grown is a great thing for me. So leadership plays a huge role in my life, whether I'm in football, baseball, school, outside of school, church, everywhere.
That's good, man. And it's cool that you at this age already have that like understanding of the importance of that. You know, what's funny, Gabe, is in the corporate world, even I was talking to my boss about this, like in the corporate world, we leadership, you get paid on a higher level of pay. So even if you work in the corporate world, like you have your entry level and professional level positions, but the people who are on the higher pay scales, typically speaking, are the leadership positions. And that's because not every not every player or not every employee is a great leader. Some of them are really good with the X's and O's, but they can't lead a team. They can't lead people. They don't know how to handle emotions. They don't know how to do that stuff. That's why they pay the dollars to the leaders. And I think it's cool if you can utilize what you're learning through sport and other aspects of your life that will trickle on to the further on in your life when the day comes that sports might be done, whenever that is, if that's 20 years down the road, whatever. But you'll leverage that. I think it's cool that you already understand that concept because leaders get paid in this world. And sometimes that's real dollars and sometimes that's blessings and whatever. But leaders are the ones who get paid because there's few of them. That's the reality. Like you said, when you were a freshman, that wasn't the case. Like there weren't a lot of leaders out there. So who's a leader in your life, Gabe, that you look up to, whether it be on the sports side of things or just in another aspect of your life that you look up to? And what's one of the leadership traits you like about them? What have they taught you?
Uh, um, a big leader I see in my life is my football coach, which might sound like a generic answer for a lot of people, but our football coach he's a great guy, and I see how hard he works for our team and the people around him. And my favorite thing about him is he understands the struggle. A lot of kids on our team come from rough homes and rough lives. People work at 3:30 in the morning before they go to school, just to get food. So he's great at understanding, everybody's situation, and I look up to him a lot. He came in my sophomore year, and he's a big part of the change in our program. So that's definitely one of the biggest people I look up to.
I love that, man. That's super cool. Super dope. Now, Gabe, as you're finishing up currently at the time of this recording, we're middle of your high school football season, but then you're gonna you obviously have baseball. So let's talk about football for a second because when this launches, you'll still have a couple of weeks left of your season, and we'll see how far you guys go. But as you look back on your high school football career thus far, what is the biggest lesson you can take away from it? The biggest life lesson, I should say, from your high school football career so far.
Um, just be the best. Not necessarily like be the most gifted or that you have to be the best player on the field, but be the best teammate you can be the best leader you can be the best example you can be the best student you can be the best person you can be. And it definitely carries on to people around you, whether it's teammates or family, friends. A lot of people's lives can be changed by yours. And I always thought I was never being seen by people, so it didn't matter what I did. And I just realized everybody's looking at you. Everybody's looking at how you carry yourself and the way you act, and people really, lead on to that and kind of follow. So, not that you have to be, the leader. If you're not the leader, lead from behind. Push everybody to be better. Push everybody to do what they're supposed to do on the field, on the campus as people. So that's probably the biggest thing I've learned as a high school athlete, and to stay focused. Don't let outside distractions, get to you. you got to stay focused on what you want. I've seen that happen to a lot of people. It happened to me for a little bit. I got distracted. I wanted to quit what I've been working so hard for, and I'm glad I didn't. Now I'm looking into my college career, and it's a big thing for me. I wasn't sure if I was ever gonna be good enough to play college, and now I'm having conversations with colleges, and it's a great thing for me, and I really feel all the work I've put in come to me as my senior year is coming to an end.
That's super cool, man. Because see, a lot of kids, I wish I could teach them that, man. Like, just be patient with the process, keep putting in the work, but just understand that there's, you got time, and there, if you're good enough, they will see you, and you. But sometimes it just doesn't happen until your senior year, and you start to realize, like, as that comes to a close, like, man, like I did learn a lot during this process. A lot of things come to fruition later on. For some kids, it's earlier than others, and some kids it's later than others. It's just part of the game. Just that's just literally what it is, and it's kind of cool to hear that. Just you put in the work and keep trusting the process, keep being a leader, and here you are. Now I do want to ask you on the football field. So football and baseball for that matter. Just as an athlete, I always have I've, like with the helmets and stuff. Like I always wanted to look cool. The look good, feel good, play good mentality. I want to know what you're like. What's your swag look like? Are you a swagged out guy, or do you typically just go old school, like no gloves, taped fingers, no visor? Like, what are you? Are you a visor guy? No visor, arm sleeve, no arm sleeve? What are you at?
Uh, I played lineman growing up, so I wasn't allowed to have any swag. So I got to take advantage of it to an extent, but I'm not necessarily like a drip kind of guy. I'm more of a like intimidation kind of guy. I love the look of black visors. I think those look sweet. If I see a kid with a cowboy collar, my legs are shaking a little bit. So I definitely I like the swag kind of look, but for me it's more about intimidation rather than, oh well, let me look good for the girls that are in the sidelines and whatever.
I love it, man. Dude, visors, the right mouth guard, gloves. I'm a guy who has to have the drip, dude. I'm serious. Like
Yeah,
that's the thing. I think it's
yeah, I
I
get you. I
respect
get you.
I respect if you want to be intimidating though too, because sometimes the guys that are like old school mentality, they run people over still. So it is what it
Yeah.
is. Um, with baseball, your dad told me, for those who are listening, Gabe's dad is a friend of mine, whom I met through our church, and I love chatting with him. But he was telling me like you're throwing some heat right now, like at this age. So talk to us about like what speed are you throwing from the mound? Like what's baseball looking like for you at this point in your high school career?
Yeah, so my main thing is pitching right now, kind of like you said. And my fastball sitting around 85, 80, 86. But I'm a young senior. I'm supposed to be a junior this year. I just turned 17, 2 or 3 weeks ago. And so it's been hard for me to compete against older people, but I've learned to be better. So yeah, I'm my fastball sitting around 85, 80, 86, but my best pitch is definitely my curveball, and our pitching coaches helped me develop a ghost fork, which is it's kind of like it's my version of a changeup. My hands are too big to throw the regular circle change because my hand just wraps around the ball and it doesn't throw right. So I throw a splitter for my changeup because that's the only thing my hands can fit on the ball. So yeah, my best pitches are actually my movement pitches and my off speeds. Yeah, I throw pretty hard, and my fastball actually moves a lot. I've never understood why it's not a straight fastball. It looks like a slider when I throw it, but it's at 86, so it's definitely a hard pitch to hit. But yeah, I'm definitely a change up and movement ball kind of guy.
Dude, that's so cool. You got a variety of pitches in your toolbox there, man. And you mentioned you're a young senior. Remind me what's your birthday?
August 18th,
All
so
right. Yeah, you're 10 days.
almost a month ago.
Yeah, you're 10 days before mine. So I'm August 28th. And so
Oh
I
yeah.
was a young senior myself too. So I was just like you, 17 when I graduated. I was 16 my senior year for a week. And then I was 17 as a freshman in college for a week and a half. So it was like the weirdest thing. People like I see 18-year-old seniors that are almost 19 by the time they graduate nowadays, especially the ones that are like, you know, the ones that are held back and they're doing the whole reclass thing. It's a
Yeah.
popular thing nowadays. It's just, it is what
Yeah.
it is. But you know what's interesting about that though, just hearing you say that, it seems like it's been a constant theme throughout your life, just kind of like playing up, you're just playing with the
Yeah.
older kids and you've almost
Yeah.
become like accustomed to that a little bit. But what's cool about that too, Gabe, is you're already kind of, athletic in stature and whatnot. But the crazy thing for me was I didn't actually hit my athletic peak until my freshman year. Well, that was when I started actually growing. I thought I was strong. I thought I was strong through high school. But when I was 18 and my freshman year in college, like midway through, like once I turned 18 and then it's like January is when I really started getting athletic. My body shifted and I was like, oh, this is why those 18-year-olds are like so much more athletic in high
Freak
school.
athletes. Yeah.
You're like, I got it now because my body started changing. And then I served a mission for our church and I came back 2 years later. And so when I was 21, I didn't leave till I was 19. So when I was 21, I got home. I was still planning on playing basketball. Even then, like it took me about 6 to 8 months to get back into shape. But I was like, oh, now my body's in peak condition. So you start to realize like your
Yeah.
body will grow and it's crazy. Like if you just keep putting in the work, you've already got the foundation for it now. But over the next couple of years, since you've already built that base, it's going to be crazy when your body starts really hitting its like maturity peak, which is going to be awesome because you're a crazy good athlete. So I want to know, Gabe Tanner, off the field and off the diamond. So what's one of your hobbies to do like outside of sports, Gabe? Like what if a college coach is listening to this right now and they're like, hey, I want to get to know Gabe outside of just sports. What do you enjoy doing?
Uh, I like snowboarding. I know that can be considered a sport, but that's a big thing for me. I love being on the mountain. I like fishing. Fishing's a big thing for me. I probably have over 1,200 pictures of me with fish in my camera roll. Uh, I like going out and hiking. I'm a big alone guy. I don't go out in big groups a lot, uh, which is kind of weird for a high schooler. But I like being alone a lot. I like going out and doing things on my own because I understand that in my life the only person who I'm guaranteed to have all the time is myself. So I do a lot of stuff by myself, not in like a negative way. I actually really enjoy it. Um, I like I don't know. I kind of like doing everything outdoors: dirt biking, swimming, you know, regular high school boy stuff.
Dude, so what's funny is that's like typical Idaho. Everything in Idaho you enjoy doing basically in the outdoors. It's the stuff
Yeah,
that everybody from out of state loves about Idaho. I hate Idaho. I've been here my whole life. Can't stand it. I hate the cold weather. Can't stand it. I'm not a hiker. I don't really, I mean, I'll go hiking, but it's not like I'm not a huge fisher. Like all the outdoor stuff that you just mentioned are the things that I don't really care about. Like, so it's
yeah,
just like, it's funny because you love it. And I'm like trying to find places where I can go. But I do have a
yeah.
question for you on that. So where's your favorite place to fish around here where we're at?
Oh, I'm not gonna tell you all my secrets, but my dad he built this pavilion for this lady that lives in Eagle,
Mm-hmm.
and whole private neighborhood, like four houses, and it's in like the woods right by the Boise River, and it's stocked with bass. So he made a deal with her when he built the pavilion that if he built it, he could fish there for the rest of his life. So it's passed down to me a little bit at this point, and I go with a few of my friends occasionally, and dude, they're always chomping. So I love fishing out there.
Oh, that's so dope. I love it, man. So moving forward, Gabe, like I know you're not 100% sure exactly what's going to happen yet. You're letting the process play out, but if you could see yourself in a year from today, what are your hopes and aspirations when it comes to either athletics or just post high school career?
Um, I'm between two decisions right now. Um, eh, I would love to commit to college. For either football or baseball. It's a neck and neck race for both of those. People ask me all the time, "Would you rather commit for football or baseball?" And I don't know. it's a hard choice for me because I've been doing both for so long. It's hard to give one up. And but if college, like if sports don't work out for me, I want to go to barber school. I've been cutting hair for a few years, and I got a lot of clientele. So I'd go to barber school, get my barber's license, and start my own shop. But right now, priority is sports. So that's what I gotta focus on, lock in on, and I'm hoping let's get a few more scholarships going.
I love that, dude. So barber school too. That you can still do that later too. Anyway, man, that's a cool
Yeah,
skill set to
exactly.
have.
So I
So.
might as well get some sports in while I'm young.
For sure, man. Hey, my boy Kamale Correa had him come speak at the Helix Mental Performance Camp. He was a Boise State linebacker, played for the Ravens, as well as the Titans and the Jaguars and the Chiefs. So just he's a good friend of mine out in Boise. He's a barber now. So he's the same guy. He finished his football career, and now he's a barber, owns his own spot out in Boise, and he cuts hair now. So super dope. So we should connect you guys at some point because he could tell you got the football/baseball career moving forward, and then you can do barbering when that's done. So
Yeah, it sounds like a nice relaxed job to have. I do roofing right now. So in the summer I wake up at 5 in the morning every morning and go roof with Adam, one of the guys you're close with. And it's hard work, but it's good discipline for me, and it keeps me stable in my life rather than sleeping in every morning in the summer like every other teenage boy does. So
yeah, that's a tough job to have when you're in high
yeah,
school, though, man. Shout out
yeah,
to Adam Zitgraf. I want to give him a shout out. So his family, like I said, Adam's older than me a little bit. I've known him for years, but I grew up with like his younger brother Carson. Shout out to the Zitgrafs. Their whole family grew up with them. So I got a lot of love and appreciation for them. It's fun to hear that there's random connections like that in the world.
yeah. Great family. I love them. They're awesome.
So cool. So Gabe, I just had two questions left for you here that I was thinking of, and on the football side of things, we never actually touched base on your position and stuff like that. So I know what you play, but I want the listeners to hear about that. So just remind us what position do you play in the sport of football?
I'm the running back and safety. Last year I started at D end, but this year they moved me back to safety, and it's been a big change for me. I'm actually loving it at safety. It feels natural to me. I played linebacker a lot until last year. Last year I got moved to D end, and I'm not necessarily the biggest guy, but I could hang with the linemen. So getting moved to safety was good for me. It was a mix of linebacker and D line, but I love seeing somebody run the ball because that means I get to crack them. You can ask my coaches, you can ask anybody who's seen me play. I'm a physical player, so even at running back, I love cracking people. So it's just like it makes me jump up and down inside, cracking somebody real nice. So yeah, that's what it's looking like.
That's a good mentality to have, man. So, with that being said, so running back/safety, relatively new to the safety position, but I guess when you're playing safety, what is like, I guess, your pre-snap reads and what does it look like for you? How do you slow the game down? Because a lot of the good athletes that want to play at the next level, they have to be able to slow the game down. The game speeds up at every level that you play. Even at junior college, man, it's fast. It's much faster than it is at high school, much fast, especially in Idaho high school. So like when you get to that next level, it's going to be a faster level of football. How do you, as a safety, slow down the game so that you can make the right read and you can go and make, crack them, like you said?
I've always been big on tails from the offense. Everybody has a tail, whether it's football, baseball, basketball, anything. Everybody always has a tail. So a lot of film watching, noticing it could even be the receiver switches their feet, whether it's a pass or a run, or just the way they get off the ball. So I'm good at reading an offense and you know understanding what's about to happen. I can tell when guards are gonna pull. I can tell when it's pass block. I can tell when the quarterback's keeping it. So it's been a big thing for me, even in the baseball world. When I was an eighth grader, I was playing up on the JV high school team, and one of my biggest jobs is finding the tail of the pitcher. And I was able to tell my coach every pitch he was about to throw, and because everybody has a tail. So for me in the athlete world, I've tried to hide as many as I can. So football as a safety, I'm good at reading the offense and knowing what's about to happen.
So when you're playing running back, though, you mentioned baseball, you're hiding your tail, but like, how do you hide it from a running back perspective? Because what if the safety on the other side is doing the exact same thing you're doing, saying, "Hey,
Yeah,
everyone's got a tail." How do you hide it as a running back?
I make everything look the same. I get a lot of people on fakes because I've noticed a lot of running backs get lazy if they're not getting the ball. If it's a pass, they'll just kind of go through the motion, whatever. On my fakes, same exact steps as if I'm getting the ball. I'm holding it like this, and I'm sprinting 20 yards downfield, even though I don't have the ball. And so I think it's making it look the same every rep because that's such a hard thing to key on if you don't know, whether they have the ball or not. So people will come running after me and even tackle me, and I'll like open my arms and like, oh, I don't even got the ball, and then it's already scored in the end zone. So yeah, I try to hide tails as much as I can. I watch myself on film, and if I change my footwork, if I'm standing more straight up rather than down. So yeah, I try to hide it as much as I can.
Oh man, that's so awesome. I actually highly encourage players to listen to what you're saying, man. Listen to what you're saying. So Gabe, as we wrap it up, I wanna ask you about like your favorite teammate. So someone you've competed with, whether that's on on the sport of baseball, sport of football, who's a teammate that you've competed alongside that stands out to you, and why do they stand out to you?
No doubt to my mind, my boy Brenton Thewison. Uh, I love that kid. He's one of my O linemen, so I gotta show him some love. But he also plays linebacker, and I've noticed with top athletes, the the cockiness is always there, and this kid is just insane. He's an insane athlete. He got freshman of the year. Just a big, great kid. And you talk to him, and he's all, "Oh, I'm great. How are you?" Like, totally polite kid, great teammate, always asking how I'm doing. But on the field, this kid's a demon. You do not want to meet him in the hole. Like, he totally flips a switch. So I aspire to be more like him in the areas of my athleticism and as an athlete. So he's just a great person on and off the field, and I see coaches are recognizing that, and it's great to see him improve in that way. He's a great teammate.
I love hearing that, man. We'll tag him in this too and shout him out. That's super dope. So for all those college coaches listening in, whether you're football, baseball related, with Gabe Tanner, you're going to get a guy who is an amazingly skilled athlete, someone who's dedicated to their craft, who's going to work hard when no one's looking, someone who is a leader and demonstrates those leadership qualities on and off the field. He does that type of stuff that we just heard about. Like, he's a good leader when people are watching, when they're not watching. He's a great teammate. He understands the game in which he's competing. He understands film study. But he also loves the outdoors. So we learned from you, Gabe, that you love the outdoors. If you're a college coach, listen to this. Listen, man, like if you guys got fishing spots, if you got hiking spots, the dude will enjoy where you're at. So make sure you're tuning in and you put this on the list because you'll be getting a good one with Gabe Tanner. So, Gabe, I just want to say thank you, brother. I appreciate you taking the time out of your schedule and being willing to join me and share your insight and your knowledge and your story with the rest of us. So thanks so much for joining me for the show, man.
Yes, sir. I appreciate you having me anytime.
Appreciate you, man. For all those who are listening, I just encourage you all again to hit that subscribe button. Again, YouTube, I'm trying to build that platform. So if you could kindly hit me with the follow there, because we'll be coming to you next week with another interview. Take care. Guys, thanks so much for listening to another episode of my show. Now, if you could go and do me a favor, head over to iTunes, give me 5 stars, and leave me a review. It would be greatly appreciated. Thanks, guys. Appreciate your support.